Maybe first I introduce myself. My name is Nils, Holger, Henning. I'm the CCO of BigPoint. What does it stand for right now? It stands for communication. That means I'm traveling most of my time to conferences like this one. It stands in the beginning for the commercial side. When I joined BigPoint, or when I decided to build a BigPoint with my partner, Heiko Huberts, we were a very, very tiny company. We were about 6 people. And from the 6 people, the majority was interns, so even people we didn't spend money on. And in the beginning, it meant I do everything, starting from contracts to partners, to marketing, to keywords, to everything that might be that's not programming games, because this is something I cannot do. First of all, I also wanted to say thank you for inviting me, and I'm very sorry that I don't speak any Turkish. But it's a pleasure for me to be here, especially because Turkey is a very important market for us, and I will tell you something about it, and especially about the company itself. So here we go. I think one thing that I heard a little bit in the presentations before, online gaming is a huge market. And I read so many studies right now, and when I travel around the world, in the US, in Europe, in Asia, how big the online gaming space is. And there are many, many numbers. You can have very well-known studies from PricewaterhouseCoopers and others. But finally, what we can point out is everything. Online gaming is a huge business, and it's developing very fast when it comes to, compared to all the other gaming spaces. You see the growth rate in the business, and it's forecasted that it's a $20 billion business by 2013. Of course, what we did with our company, we had a look where other companies are based and where everyone is positioned in this field, especially when we came up with BigPoint, and that's quite interesting. And I remember the times very well. In 2005, 2006, nobody was believing in us. We also went to the gaming conventions like E3 in the US and others, and people said you will never succeed, you will never have a chance, you will fail. But in fact, we came from the niche, and especially we tried to talk to all the companies on the right side, the classical gaming companies, and they didn't want to talk to us. It's quite interesting. Now they try to contact us, and they want to talk to us. And so everything changed a little bit. But what we saw in general when it comes to the gaming market, that especially there's a huge growth when it comes to casual social games. There's a huge quantity of casual games in the market, I would say hundreds of millions. But we saw very well in social games from the casual aspect, games that are running on platforms like Facebook, Hi5 or others, they are accelerating so fast it's unbelievable. I mentioned there are a couple of companies, Zynga, Playfish, others. As a good example, you can pick out a company like Playfish, and still when I think about Christian, I know Christian, the founder of Playfish, quite well. He founded the company and sold the company within 23 months after foundation for, when you take the whole sum, including the earn-out, for $400 million. I've never heard a story like this in such a short time frame when it comes to games. But you see, it only works because the market is growing. BigPoint itself, we positioned the company differently. We wanted to make from the beginning more involving games that you play over a longer time, kind of light MMOs. Some people call them casual MMOs, so games that you can actively play for 6, 12 months plus. And there we are positioned, and if you have a look inside, you see another company, of course, that we added there. It's a company called Gameforge. They're also successful with a client-based game in all over Europe. And of course, a lot of Asian companies. So you see what we do on the client-based side has a roots in the Asian world. But what does it mean, especially, or why we believe we could grow so fast? I think one of the most important factors of growth was to offer games that are free of any kind of barrier. So wherever we were distributing games to, people could just choose a game, register, and start to play. They didn't need to download something, they didn't need to install something. And at the point where you come to downloads and installments on computers, you automatically exclude all users that might access your game. From internet cafes where they don't have admin rights, from universities where they don't have admin rights, from work computers where they don't have admin rights to install something, and they can also play in their break. So automatically, you exclude a huge part of users. But what does it mean for us, especially when it comes to business model, before I tell you a little bit how we started to grow in different segments. And with the business model, it was for sure also one driver of the success of BigPoint. And it's, just imagine the situation, I mean, I had perfect weather right now in Istanbul, but when I think about Hamburg and non-stop rains, and just think about, you stay on the street, you wait for the bus, and you know the bus comes in 30 minutes. If you would pay right now a couple of cents, let's say 10 cents, we know that 10% of our users would spend this money that the bus comes right now. And the business model is the kind of the typical thing you know in life. When I think about my student times, I had a lot of time, but unfortunately not enough money. Then it changes in life. It's a typical trade-off. You have more and more money, but you have less and less time. And in fact, this is what reflects the games. And when we talk about microtransactions and the business model behind it, this shows it very well. And it also shows the advantage in having a flexible pricing model compared to one price point where you just try to maximize the demand and the quantity. And like we knew from the business schools, what we do, we say if the user, if we talk about the 10% paying users, wants to pay, he can spend a little amount, let's say a premium SMS from 2 euros. If he wants to spend more money, he can spend more money, and he can buy a huge pirate ship or something for 50 euros. So if you have a look on the right-hand side, we occupy the whole space. But if you think about the old classical subscription model, and even successful games like World of Warcraft everywhere in the world, they need to find a point and say this is our pricing point. And whatever point you choose, you're going to exclude some users who would be willing even to spend some money or who would be willing to play your game. If you say 10 euros automatically a month with a subscription, automatically all the users who are willing to spend 5 money cannot play your game because it's maybe too expensive. And especially, and that's even more important, and it's not such a huge secret about all the companies working on microtransactions, especially you exclude the hard spenders. And you have these hard spenders all around the world, people who say, I have everything in life, I have a big car, I have a big house, I just don't have time, and I want to have the best. And if you tell such a person he can only spend 2 euros, he will not, or 10 euros, he will not play your game for a long time. We were writing down one number. We are quite proud about it because it took us a long, long time together with our media partners, with our own initiatives, Turkey media partners like Equali, like Canada, and others. But right now we came and we were hitting one number, and this number means we are growing together with our media partners by 250,000 new registrations a day. And what's very important about it, it's not a social game where you just click on Facebook, allow, and it's a kind of sign up. No, it's a real registration inside of the game. And what we liked about it, it's more than babies are born worldwide. So obviously it cannot go with a growth forever with BigPoint like this, but it's a nice number and we are quite proud about it. And here you see in fact the development of BigPoint of the user base. And you see especially in the final, and it's scaling a lot. We were hitting in March the 110 million users. Right now we are close to 120 million. I think the last number I saw was about 119 million. But you see especially the growth rate. To give you a very good example, in June 2006, and I still remember it very well because it was the fair I was talking about, we hit 1 million users. And right now it's close to 120 million, as I said. Yeah, we found out, so especially my head of PR found out 110 million is more than eggs are consumed in the world daily, just to give you numbers. But what's the driver behind it? The driver behind all the registrations is a huge portfolio of games. And this is also a reason why it's interesting for us to work with media partners and why we can offer media partners a bigger selection of games. So the total game portfolio consists nowadays of more than 50 games. Especially we said we want to occupy spaces that are interesting, because not everyone who's interested in action games might play a strategy game or a sport game or an adventure game. So you see, we try to spread the portfolio over this. But what's also new and what we try with BigPoint, and especially where we see BigPoint in the future, and where we see how we can drive more and more attention, more and more traffic, and more users to it. What we see nowadays is that we come even to our limits, and BigPoint has right now, we were building up the company in a very short time frame, and we have right now more than 400 employees already, most of them based in Hamburg. But we see we cannot develop so fast games as the market is asking for games, and especially the users are asking for games. So we have a strategy, I will tell you a little bit later about it, that we go on developing our in-house IP. I will show you one of the games as well, that we license IP, that we license games itself from other developers. We make distribution agreements with developers, and we have something called the Dev Launch, where an external developer just can upload the game to the BigPoint API, to the infrastructure, and spread it from there all over the internet. Here you see some of the games. Poison Ball, Cave Gladiators, Sea Fight, Dark Orbit, our strongest games here. Farmerama, the fastest growing game, because it's more balanced on the audience. It's has a clear 50-50 female-male split. But I will show you right now, this is quite interesting. I don't know in how far you know BigPoint, but if you have a look at the roots of BigPoint, the games were very static, more or less like a website. PHP front end, MySQL database, you make your settings, you wait around, you get your results, and it's very strategic. Many people even were joking worldwide, they said, the games are so boring, that's what they always told me, they could only come from Germans. But anyway, we changed it right now over the time, and the games look more and more action-driven. And I will show you right now what kind of quality of games we are going to launch in the future. Everything, or most of the things you see inside of the game are real gameplay, just running out of the browser. If you know games like, for example, GTA, it will remind you on a GTA game for a message you might get. And if you paid attention to the trailer, we are like many other game companies. There was written coming in spring, of course delayed, so coming better in late summer. This is a game that's a kind of also technology masterpiece that we were trying to do. When you talk about game development in terms of browser-based games, the really static games, what I said in the beginning, the first games you could develop with a couple of thousand euros. When it comes to flash-based games, games like Sea Fight, Dark Orbit, others, you're already in development budget that come to 100,000 euros or more. Other technologies like Unity and others drive it even higher. This game Poison Ball is done in Java, and the whole development budget, and I'm quite sure when we launch, will hit already 2 million euros in development. So you see, you cannot compare the quality of games anymore like the first games we launched. And if you have a look at Poison Ball, and I was trying it out, it's a whole landscape where you can drive with cars, you can drive with bikes, with motorbikes, with jet skis, and very important still, everything is running just out of the browser, like we always do it with our games. I was talking about IP, where we believe that might be one important driver. We were selling, or that's what I say, we took some venture capital in the company of BigPoint in the history, and we were selling a part of the company to NBC Universal with their Peacock Fund and GMT Communication Partners. So obviously we have access to the Universal Studios IP, and one of the nicest IP is Battlestar Galactica, which is a huge format in the US. It's not so popular in Europe, or as popular, but it's like Star Trek and others, and there we develop games in Unity. other games, we license games. This is a game we licensed with a European media group called Pro7 SBS, or Pro7 in German, and this is a Korean game called Wonder King. Here we have the development lounge, what we said, where we can add content from other developers and distribute them over our lounge. And if you have a look, how many games are right now from external parties? It's about 15 games that we launched already through the Dev Lounge, and we have right now about 100 sign-ups already that other developers are uploading their content actually. But where do we stay right now? And this is quite important also in terms of growth and in terms of further growth. First of all, what we found out, especially being international active, but also what we learned about Turkey, where we burned a lot of money in the beginning, payment is quite important. And if you have the idea that you just come to market and you think you have PayPal or a credit card, it will not work out. So you need to have local payment systems, otherwise you will fail in every market. And I can tell you as a good example, we started in France with our first international market because it was bordering Germany, and we did everything, translations and stuff, and payment system. We missed the most important payment system. It absolutely failed. We lost all money. And then we were thinking about why French people don't like our games, and we understood they cannot even pay. So it didn't bring anything to buy the traffic. So it's a lot of different things that we have integrated: premium SMS, PayPal, all the credit debit cards, all the local gaming cards, also the Turkish ones, and the things for the internet cafes. So we do a lot over there. And what's quite important about payment systems, all payment systems run in real time. So there cannot be any leak, especially when you talk about huge numbers of users. You have one time a leak of 10, 15, 20 minutes in the payment processing. You have a nightmare in the community and the tickets you get. So it must be everything running in real time. Community management, of course, taking care about the players. We have 40 people in-house doing this. We have about 6,000, and this is the secret about all the MMO games. We have about 6,000 people doing this on a voluntary base, so doing it free without asking any money for it, and working for the community as game masters, moderators, chat in the chats, and trying to seek everything out, that the games are working fine and not some people are driving against the community. We do this in 30 languages, but very important when it comes to our users. I think we have, when it comes to gaming, and this was what I was building over the last 4 years until I do right now what I do in the company. I was building up the whole distribution network of BigPoint, with right now more than 1,000 partners, especially also a lot of media channels, the major internet portals in most of the countries we are active, major ISPs, so directly where you have the access to the web, and also game aggregators in the market. When it comes to, and this is quite interesting, how we are growing our user base, and we are quite happy that right now with media partnerships we generate about 30-35% of our traffic. That means it's TV stations, as I said, general interest portal, gaming portals. We deliver in all different kind of ways our games. We try to make it as simple as possible for the partners. What we also learned about, if you think about working with partners, because very often you don't have the resources on the partner side to make the big integration, so you must have a turnkey. We do it via iframe, RSS, or white label. Another very important segment of us is marketing, where we buy traffic itself, but we buy the traffic, of course, more targeted. That means in media partnerships always have a little bit the disadvantage when it comes to traffic. It's spreading a lot about the traffic. So you cannot say this is a typical user of CFight and he will see the CFight ad. It's more or less hitting all gaming interested people. But what we do in marketing, performance-based branding, we go to search engines. We are right now, to give you just one rough number, we are the biggest customer of Google in Europe for entertainment traffic. And if you know that Google is quite big, it shows you we buy a lot on Google. We work, of course, with affiliate networks. We have TV spots especially we are running over the past with companies like MTV, in Turkey it's, for example, Kanal D and others. When it comes to Google, of course, SEM, search engine marketing, is very important, where we buy a lot, but more and more we also work on the optimization of the websites that people can find the games. Marketing makes about 25% of our traffic, and very important in kind of traffic, because this is a kind of, let's say, free traffic, it's a viral traffic. So users come to users, talk about the games. It's a viral game mechanics, especially what you can see on a big scale in companies like Playfish, like Zynga, that you invite your friends, that you try to get friends into the game. Is for us an important driver, at 40%, and these 40% of the users are very often very interested inside of the games because they got the recommendation of their friends to try and use the game. And this is a lot about the game mechanics, friend invitations, skills, group activities, that people go out, make events, and that you link websites. And you can even put it in your signatures around. When it comes to media partners, I just said it, it's plenty of them. I think I don't need to go too much into detail. I was mentioning some in Turkey. But if you have it at BigPoint, look at BigPoint on a global scale, you will see it's the major media groups, it's the major TV stations already, and things happen that you start with one partner in one country, it works out fine. Out of a German deal, like with MTV, we made a European deal. Out of the European deal, we were adding whole South America. Then we are going to add North America, and suddenly you work with Viacom in all their countries. And this is in fact how it works on a global scale. We try to gain the trust of our partners and try to build a partnership on a long scale, and from there on we build it further. As I said, in 30 languages. And as one good example, and this will be at one point something that we will also, from the strategic point of view, will focus on this BigPoint on a bigger scale. As I said at the beginning, we were building up BigPoint out of one headquarter, out of Hamburg, very centralized. Up to the point where we are right now, just in Hamburg, I think about 370 people, actually, after the 1st of May. But what we really target in Hamburg, or what we really target on a long scale, is to be successful on a global scale. And we learned it with the US. We were thinking about, many Americans do the same with European, or with the European countries. They think about, our product is successful in the US, right now we want to be a European company. What they do, in most of the cases, they take one junior, who doesn't have the family or something in the US, they send him over to London, they rent him in a little office, a Regis office or something, he has a nice small apartment, and he should make Europe right now. And in fact, we did the same with the US. We were sending one person over and we thought, you make America. But we didn't keep in mind, it's such a huge country, and the same for Europe. There are so many different nationalities, cultures, payment systems, it's not possible to make it by one person. So what we did in the past, and BigPoint right now, when we talk, for example, about Turkey, we have Turkish people in the translations, we have Turkish people in the support, we have Turkish people in the kind of business development working on the partner side. So we try to give it a local approach. This works up to a size, I would say, of 500-600 employees when you make it centralized. But then comes the point where you need to decentralize, where we must think about, in the first step you see in the US, that we founded in an own studio, own distribution, with Heiko, my partner, who moved over, that you decentralize a company and you have local offices in every country to really have the local approach and to address a market like it should be. Last, to the key numbers, and I'm very happy. I don't know how much time I have still for questions.
You have time.
I'm very happy, and this is the reason why I came here. And it's for the first time, in fact, that someone of the senior management of BigPoint is here, because Turkey is such an important market for us. And here you see some of our key numbers I was talking about. But when I talk about Turkey, I know that Turkey is one of our most important markets or let's better say one of our top 3 markets in terms of traffic. So people are very actively playing games over here. They are really into games. They like online games, especially massively multiplayer games where you don't play alone against a computer, where you play against thousands of other players. When I also think about Turkey, it's not from the monetization, so in terms of what kind of money we make out of the market. It's not one of our top 5 or top 10 market, but it's a very important market. But what we like more is that Turkish people are really interested in playing games and are really active in communities, in the clans, and are really driving a lot of attention to the games. So here you have some of the key numbers. I can tell you for BigPoint, it was when it comes to growth, and I think you will find it in every company, and I don't know exactly what you do. You know, of course, from the last presentation, from Ecolai, of course, some people from the media side are here, but maybe you're game developers, but I can give you one very good tip in the past of how we were growing, and you see the same in other companies like Playfish and Zynga. What we did, we're never stopping to believe in what we do. So we knew there must be a way to be successful. We came out of a very, very tiny niche, and it's important if you're right now in games, and it's of course a big challenge, but to see what's going to happen within the next 2 or 3 years. And this is what happened with BigPoint. We had the feeling that it will go to massively multiplayer, that things will run out of the browser, and people, after playing simple casual games, they are interested in more massively multiplayer games. This was our vision, and we saw the market was turning to this field. And then, and this is what I see in nearly every internet company right now, you need to find one little tool, one little way how to spin your traffic. And how you see right now it's accelerating. One very important thing for us were the media partners, and especially in 2006 there was the Football World Championship in Germany, and there was one media partner driving a lot of attention to BigPoint, and this was our first TV partnership with a Pro7 group. Pro7 SBS group was the second biggest TV channel in Germany, and all the football games were broadcasted by the public TV channels. So the private ones had a big problem in selling their ad space, and we were talking to them and they said, let's give it a trial. We have so much randomly free ad space, we didn't sell it. Let's push BigPoint games. And this gave us the initial kick, and from there on we started to work a lot with Google and other things where we buy traffic, and we were calculating once we spend €1 how much time it takes to go break even, when we go profitable, how to grow the company. We had of course some venture capital, and this was growing the company in the final end. But you need to find one way how to try to spin and how to try to get things going. As a good example, as I said, Playfish in Zynga, I remember, in fact, they also contacted us. And if you ask BigPoint right now what was our biggest mistake in the history, it was that we didn't pay attention to social media and social networks. We had the kind of copycat of Facebook running in Germany, a network called StudiVZ, also very successful. But we didn't see, by the growth of StudiVZ, how successful Facebook became in the US, and that Facebook was opening up the APIs for third-party content. And StudiVZ wasn't doing it. So we always thought the social network is a kind of closed space, but in fact it wasn't. And but companies like Zynga, Playfish, they realized very fast. They realized what was possible in the early days in Facebook to drive a lot of alerts, messages between each other, and to drive by this way a lot of free traffic to the games to go break even and to build up these companies. And when you have a look right now at these companies, that was all about growing a company, and I'm happy to answer some of your questions.
Bugün soruları olan varsa var. Sıradan başlayabiliriz, buradan alabiliriz. Bayağı orada bir kişi var. Şöyle.
Hello, Ali Özan from Reklam Store. I would like to ask a different question, not about Turkish market, but about BigPoint's international ambitions. You have got an investment 2 years ago from GMT fund, right? And that fund is partially owned by NBC Universal.
Not GMT, there are two investors. One investor is Peacock,
Yes, and Peacock is owned by...
exactly. Peacock
and NBC Universal is bought by Vivendi recently.
Yeah.
And Vivendi is mother company of Activision Blizzard.
And and this is very important, why we did it. There's no influence from this side.
Yeah, but I would like to mention, you know, EA bought Playfish recently, and can we see a partnership with BigPoint and Activision in the future about the things like Playfish and EA Sports? EA.
An acquisition?
No, not a
partnership. In general, what's quite interesting, we are talking at the moment with nearly every classical gaming company. So starting from Activision Blizzard to EA to Ubisoft to really everyone around in the market, because they all try to go online, but it's a totally different business. And this is what I taught the classical PC industry for many years. This is what you see in the lifetime of games. If you have a look at our games, most successful games, they're still growing after 3-4 years. If I have a look at a typical box product, they have one sales circle in the Christmas season, in the Easter season, and then it's out. So it's totally different. They don't know how to operate MMOs, and it just sounds like one sentence, but it's like going on a motorbike or flying in a plane. I mean, with both things you can go straight forward, but how to manage it, it's totally different. But coming to partnerships, from the investment side, we are absolutely independent, and that's quite important, and therefore we only sell it because we wanted to have some international knowledge. We had before 3 German investors, Aurelia, we had the European Founders Fund, better known as the Samba Brothers, who made also other things like eBay, Alando, Germany, Jamba, and we had United Internet.
Well, they have many investments in Turkey as well, Samba Brothers.
Yeah?
Yep, they have investments in Turkey.
Okay. And United Internet was the second biggest ISP. These were our investors, but it was purely German, but we wanted to be an international company, and therefore we tried to swap the investors. With the Peacock Fund was the NBC Universal side, and with GMT Communication Partners. But therefore, and that's very important, we always wanted to have a minority of shares of, let's say, a strategic arm of a media company that we're not related. They open up the doors for us in the US to all their properties, and we get access to the IPs, but they can never direct our way and tell us you must do this or this or this.
Size direkt şuradan bunu vereyim isterseniz. Orada bir soru var.
We know about how media consumption goes, online goes hand in hand with TV. You're mentioning ProSieben partnership, a strategic partnership. Are ProSieben mentioning you as much as you do them? The other, you know what I mean. Are TVs as much interested in promoting online games as you wish they would?
At the moment, what TVs are doing, it's quite interesting. When you take, and I always say as one good example, there's the biggest fair for TV companies, definitely in Europe, but one of the biggest in the world. It's a MIPTV in Cannes in France, where you have all TV channels from all over the world coming to it. And you see as one trend in how far it's developing. We were establishing with Red Medium, so the organizers of MIPCOM, one day, the first day of MIPCOM is only dedicated to TV channels and games. So we see it's more and more developing into this direction. And we saw in our times when we started, there were more and more internet offerings like YouTube and others growing very fast. And TV channels were thinking about, we're quite good on the air, but we don't have anything really online as a property. So we see we're quite happy in terms of promotion and how far it's spinning up. The only thing, and this is very clear, it's working as better, as big as the financial crisis are. Because when the advertisers have enough money to buy all the spaces on TV, you get less promotion. This is obviously. But we are quite happy in the amount of promotion we get now. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions actually. In Turkey, we usually see casual flash game portals. How does it affect if they embed your games on their sites? Do you have any benefits? Do you benefit from that in any way? That's my first question. And the second one is, you mentioned that 0.5% of your traffic comes from marketing efforts. How is that relevant to the cost of those marketing efforts?
So first question, it's again in Turkey. I was writing down the name. We are working, in fact, with one of the biggest casual gaming portals. It's owned by some Germans who are based in Cologne, from Kaiser Games. Do you know the name of the portal?
Kaiser.
Exactly. I have a problem pronouncing it. And there you see we are working with them. They integrated our games and it's working very well. Because still you will have, or you will see in terms of casual games, that you have a lot of traffic. When you have a look at websites like Miniclip, when you have a look at websites like Minijuegos, what's the leading one in the Spanish traffic, we are working with all of them, and they are quite important and strong partners. Why? Because they have so much traffic. And very often there's a little bit this is what we believe in with the social networks. The casual games are the kind of entry to the gaming world. But after a while, when I have a look at me, for example, it's nice for me to go up with a mouse, a ladder 20 times and to play the game half an hour, but then I want to find a real game. If I find it on the casual games portal, I'm in, and this is my place to go. When it comes to marketing and marketing growth by numbers, it's very important for us. Everything we do in terms of marketing is performance-based. And what we do, especially when it comes to marketing, it's 25% of the registrations, of the sign-ups to the games, but it's very valuable users we find, because we try to target them with keywords to directly find. It's a little bit sometimes when it's about this business model, it's a little bit like the big hotels or the big in Las Vegas, take as a good example. You try to find the best paying customer somewhere in the world, and then you can spend more money for a user, but in the fund, and he will bring you a higher return. Or if you have a 5-star plus resort somewhere in Turkey, you always must try to find the best paying customers, and then it makes more money to spend more money to advertise the hotel, but in the fund end you can charge a higher room rate.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emre from Gelir Ortakları. I'd like to know what are the key elements that makes a game success specifically for Turkey, and also I'd like to know how long does it take to get your ROI for the Turkish users, and what do you do to shorten the time period to break even and profit from a specific Turkish user?
Thank you. So, of course, so maybe first of all, very important when it comes to games, and this is what I always say, it's a game. A game must bring, the first thing that's important, fun. I saw so many projects where the best and craziest ideas, but when you come to the game, it's so complicated, you don't know what to do, you lose. You lose within the first 5 minutes your motivation, your fun, and you skip and you're gone. And these are the games that fail. So fun is the most important thing. Second of all, what we believe must be very important. It's a work with a community. That you come to the game, that you see the chat is running, that many elements, that there's really activity going on inside of the game. And this is what when I talk about the critical mass of players, but I always say that it's the most important thing, that you reach from the very beginning so many players and so many people inside of the game that you think, wow, here's something going on, that's a place to be, and additionally I have fun in doing it. So all the communication elements, these are the success drivers for the game. And as a good example, I can tell you one of our games that we launched, and it's not one of our highest productions right now, and that's quite interesting. You cannot say you spend so much more money and you will be so much more successful. No. I often saw directly the opposite. Games that were done good, that were more simple, but anyway, playing with the elements I said in the beginning, are so successful, and much more successful than other games where you were thinking about the best game design, game elements, spending a lot of money, and you think, why is it not starting to fly? Why isn't it coming up? So it's quite difficult. When it comes to return on investment, marketing spendings, we think about the time frame to go break even. Maximum, we try to optimize most of the campaigns on 6 to 9 months, but we are sure that we go break even with everything after 12 months. And there you can play very fast. If we cut some traffic, it's 6 months. If we buy more traffic, it's 9 to 12.
You said the critical mass. How would you rate the critical mass for Turkey? I mean, what would be a critical mass for Turkey for a game?
When I talk about CCU, so concurrent users, you must have something between 4,000 and 6,000 users inside of the game to really grow.
Türkçe sorma şansınız var mı?
Tabii tercüme ederiz. I can translate. Right. Ama cevabınızı alacağım. Ha, okey, tamam.
Merhaba, ben Emre Tekohanet yapımcısı Kemal Şahin. Ben şeyi sormak istiyorum. 100 milyon kayıtlı üye olduğunu söyledi. Yaklaşık da %10 bunun premium üyelik. En çok premium üyelik hangi ülkeden acaba yani? En çok ödemeyi yapan hangi ülke?
Yeah, you have over 100 million users, and he said 10% of these users are premium users, and he wants to know which country has the most premium users. Which country is this?
Very, very interesting. One thing when we talk about 110 million registered users, it's not active users. It means people who signed up in BigPoint. Otherwise, when I would have 11 million paying users a month, paying 10, 20 euros plus, I would have a very big smile on my face.
Hi, I'm Mehmet from Oyun. I'd like to ask, in the first minute of your presentation, you mentioned that it is a key point of your success that you don't make users download and install anything. But for your upcoming games like Webrazzi Online, you will be using Unity. And how do you think you will handle with the penetration of the new players like Flash player or Unity 3D player?
It's right. So we come and say what we do in-house is developing purely browser-based games. And you can say, of course, Flash is also a plugin, and Java is a plugin. And we were picking out Unity because we believe that Unity will be one of the driving technologies in the future. Why? Because first of all, it's cross-platform. Once you develop on Unity, you can publish a game on a mobile device as well as on a PC or even on a console. Then one very important factor for us for Unity is that Unity got an investment from Sequoia. Sequoia Capital is a Silicon Valley venture capital firm who invested money before in YouTube, in Google, in Apple, in Oracle. So they really are very well connected, let's say, in the Silicon Valley, in the internet industry. And we believe once Unity and Sequoia is invested in Unity, Sequoia will open up the ways for Unity that they will get somewhere in OEM distribution. And by this I mean that they will be maybe placed in a Firefox or Google Chrome or wherever, but they will have their key installation. Then when it comes to Unity, still you only need to develop one time the Unity plugin, but then still you can play our games browser-based. But we, in this case, it's right, we speculate on an OEM install in the browser. When it comes to client-based games, our other segment, in client-based games, yes, definitely, this is a download game, but we want to split our portfolio a little bit, but we want to have the majority of offerings for our download-free users, and when they want to play the experience at home on their computer and they want to have a deeper graphic set, then they can download the client-based game.
Thank you.
Evet, sanırım bu kadar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause.